This is episode 233 of the Beyond the Food Show, and today is a special episode, and I'm going to help you coach your diet brain in response to the coronavirus. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Going to Beyond the Food Show. I'm Stephanie Dozier, clinical nutritionist and emotional eating expert, creator of the Going to Beyond the Food method, and founder of the Going to Beyond the Food Academy. Corporate executive turned health expert with my own journey with weight, body image, and food, it's now my mission to help smart, successful women like you live confidently right now and unconditionally. Ready, sister? Let's do this. Hello, sisters. How you doing? Just like with the time that we're living through, today is going to be a special episode. So I'm recording this on March 24th. Every plan I had for the podcast just went up in the air. And I'm recreating episodes that are especially geared to help you with the current circumstance that we're living through, which is the coronavirus. And this episode is just another one of those episodes that I'm creating. And it's the first time ever that I'm doing what I'm about to do with you. I'm going to be sharing the recording of a live coaching call that we have inside of the Going to Beyond the Food Academy. Now, normally these calls are only available to our student, but this situation is so special. And I've received a number of feedback from last week's episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, show 232 on stress eating. And I was highlighting how crucial the mindset that we have impacts our eating behavior, right? The medicating factor between our mindset and our eating behavior is our emotion. So I decided to share this recording to help you. In this recording, share with you how to manage your brain so you have a better state of emotion and a more sensible approach to intuitive eating and your eating behavior. In this segment of my coaching call, I share my thoughts because part of the Going to Beyond the Food Academy is me sharing how I experience intuitive eating, body neutrality, and mindset, which then leads me to share how I'm experiencing the coronavirus. And I'm sharing my way of looking at it. Now, special note, we've cut out the end of the coaching call, which is the segment where I coach the student. We did not yet get permission from the student to share their voice on the podcast, so I've edited that out. If we get all the permission, because it's very confidential environment, my program, so if we get the permission to add the student voice at the end, you may have an updated version of this call with the Q&A at the end. It may not happen, so I'm going with the flow here. Just want to give you this special note. Before we get into this, we also created 2 other resources for you. We created a podcast roadmap. It's a PDF, 1-page PDF that you can print that has 3 tracks for the podcast. 1 focus on eating behavior, 1 focus on mindset, and 1 focus on health. We have a large number of episodes and we have a lot of new listener. So if you're new and you want to tackle one segment particularly, go and download this podcast roadmap. It's inside the show notes. So stephaniedozie.com/233 or in your podcast app. And also in the show note, we gave you access to another recording of a health workshop that I had on March the 25th, 10 non-diet health strategy for women to support your health and your well-being during this time of crisis. So you can access the recording in the show notes. All you'll need to do is give us an email so we can send you the recording. Ready? So here's what we're going to cover in this coaching call. Why the coronavirus is a neutral event. Remember, that's my perspective. The number one thing you can do to remain calm, how to process emotion, how to coach yourself in the context of uncertainty, why your old behavior and thoughts resurface with uncertainty, and the one thing all of us should do. Let's go for it. So welcome into this special coaching call here. And we are here to talk about a very challenging topic for many. And I recognize that the situation that we are living across the world over the past few days, and for some of you in European country, perhaps for a number of weeks, is a very challenging situation. And we have to recognize that every one of us is experiencing and living through the situation differently. The biggest advice, if you want to say like the one thing from this call that you can take away, is to live this experience from within yourself as opposed to being outside of yourself. It's about living and experiencing it in your body. So to honor that, we're going to use a quick grounding technique that all of you have been taught, which is the Crave Cure formula. So wherever you are right now, perhaps put your feet on the ground. Perhaps if you're laying down, just extend your legs. Make sure that your spine is straight, that you are in a safe environment. Take a deep breath in. And try to use your nose, as always, as much as possible to inhale and exhale. It does engage your nervous system differently. So take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale through your nose. Quickly go into your head, your shoulder. If you need a visual cue, use our balloon. Inhale and exhale. Go into your tummy, your belly area. Inhale and exhale. Connect to your hips, your legs. Inhale and exhale. When you do that on your own, you can stay in that inhale, exhale pattern as long as you need. But typically with 3 to 5 inhale and exhale, we can begin to shift our nervous system from a state of aroused to a state of rest. So you can open your eyes and come back with me, or you can take the whole call, your eyes closed, as you wish. The intention of this call here is to help you manage your mind and your emotion when it comes to the situation that we are all faced with. And what we have to recognize is that our emotion are created by the way we think. And we beat that to death in this program. So you have to fully embrace the fact that how you're feeling today is 100% the outcome of how you think about the situation. And this is where we're going to start, just like what we do in the self-coaching model, right? We start at the top with the circumstance. And this is perhaps the most challenging part of managing our mind and our emotion, is looking at the circumstance from a place of neutrality, not attaching any judgment to the coronavirus, the COVID-19, that this virus is neutral. Now, I can already sense some of yours brain coming back at me and says, how can it be neutral? A virus is a fact. It's a scientific fact. It's something that you can see under a microscope, just like the influenza, just like any other viral infection. Many of us will come in contact with the COVID-19 in the next few weeks and months and not even know we have it. Some of us will come in contact with it and perhaps have a little bit of symptoms. Perhaps some of us will get sick. But it's not a fact that it will create health danger to all of us. So the coronavirus is a neutral situation. Matter of fact, in some country right now, today, as we speak, they don't even know what it is because they not have been affected by it yet. So this is where we all have to start looking at the virus in a neutral space. Now, as we do that, some of you's primal brain, the reptilian brain, will scream, but I might die, right? That most primal part of your brain will engage with your biggest fear, right? So let me ask you this. If you are one of those persons who is feeling a threat to their life right now, and your brain is screaming, but I might die, my question back to you is one of our powerful coaching questions that are posted in our program. Then what? So what? Is that a surprise to you that as a human, you're going to die? I mean, that's the whole human journey, right? We come on this planet to live an experience, and we know that this journey will end at some point. So this event that is a coronavirus is actually calling out bigger fear that you have. You have this fear within you. You have this belief, this perspective within you that you must control your life and avoid death to the best that you can, because dying means something to you that is, quote, terrifying, that is, quote, bad. The inability to face the fact that we're all going to die at some point is what caused the anxiety and the stress. And that's what caused people to seek control. This is why you're seeing people going into store and buying 6 to 12 months of supplies and doing really nasty things to each other, because they're seeking the control so they can avoid the potentiality of death. So they're totally freaked out about the virus, completely, quote, out of control. And in some situations, they'll try to control you, because they're seeking that control and that avoidance so much that they want your behavior to be in alignment to their own belief and fear. They believe that everyone should be afraid the way they do because they believe they can control you. So you may not be that person, but you may have people in your life that hold that belief and then therefore create the emotion, the action, and the result, and they believe you should act in the same way. You have to bring compassion to that, but at the same time, you have to come back to your own decision on how you're going to think about this situation, the virus. So let's come back to where we started, right? The self-coaching model. C is the virus, right? The news of the virus. So then you are accepting that the virus and the corona situation is neutral. Then what are your thoughts around the virus? Now, I want to take a pause before we go into what are your thoughts, to first recognize for some of you that have a lot of emotion around this, that the first step is perhaps to actually process your emotion, right? My tagline on processing our emotions is feel, don't fight, right? Bring ourselves to a place where we can actually feel the emotion in our body. And the Crave Cure formula that we use at the beginning is a great place that will allow you to actually feel and actually process your emotion, right? When we say we have to release the emotion, it means processing the emotion. And when we teach you self-coaching, the first thing we teach you to do is to identify the sensation in your body of your emotion. How do your emotions feel in your body? So when you close your eyes and you start breathing and practicing the Crave Cure formula, what do you feel in your body? What are the sensations, the tension, the pain, the ache, the heat, the cold that you're feeling? And then to label these sensations. Literally speak to yourself in your head. I'm feeling this. It feels like this. Oh, look at that. I'm feeling this there. Label the sensation. And write them down. Grab your journal and write down all the sensations, label them, connect them to an emotion. By simply doing that, by identifying, labeling, you will bring down the potency of your emotion by 50%. And for the moms that are listening right now, this is a great exercise to do with your kids. If your kids are feeling anxious, they're feeling stress, have them do this exercise, coach them through this exercise with you to label and tell you how they feel and have them connect that with an emotion. You perhaps will have to do more coaching depending on their age, but that alone will reduce the potency of the emotion for them by 50%, at least. So if the emotions are overwhelming, start there. Then we're going to go into the self-coaching model. And the first big step of self-coaching is to explore the current situation, to use the model to not change your thoughts right away, but to first understand what the heck is going on in your head that then makes you feel a certain way and that makes you behave a certain way, right? So circumstance is coronavirus, COVID-19, the news of the coronavirus, whatever is the trigger for you. And then thought download. Write down everything that's going on in your head. Now I want to take a moment to talk about the thoughts that each one of us have about the situation. Each one of us will have different thoughts about this event. And there's a very basic and simple reason why that is. If you go back to the illustration of the self-coaching model, our thoughts are created by our perspective, our past experience, our core beliefs. The primitive brain, the part of your brain that is trying to keep you alive in this current very intense situation, is going to go back into this core belief and pick out thoughts out of there that in the past have proven to keep you safe. Let me repeat that. Your thoughts about the coronavirus will likely come from your long-held belief that have kept you safe before. That is the role of your primitive brain, hence why each one of us has a different series of thoughts. Let me give you a few examples here. So if you're someone who has had a lot of belief and a lot of teaching around health and you being responsible for your health and the danger of not being healthy, right? A lot of around health and responsibility of health, your thought download will be centered around the danger to your health, right? And everything that can happen around your health, because these thoughts kept you safe in your comfort zone before. May have kept you stuck, but it kept you safe. If you are someone who keeps other as a priority instead of you, and we have a lot of that in our community, right? If you're someone who's in the past has been a people pleaser, then your thoughts will be rerouted around others. I feel bad for others. I feel bad for my family. What will happen to this person? What will happen to my community? What's going to happen to my older parents? And you're going to start overthinking about everything that could go wrong with others. If you're someone who has a scarcity around finances, that you believe that money is scarce, then your thought download will have a lot of thoughts around what's going to happen to the economy, financial security, your 401ks, your retirement plan, You're going to go out and take money. Your action will also be around that. You'll be the people showing up at the bank, taking cash money out. You're going to check the financial system every single day and how your 401ks are doing. Can you see that? The only way for you to see that and to bring awareness to this is to do the thought download and practice your self-coaching, right? So hence why, I'm going to repeat this again, the coronavirus is neutral because each one of us has different thoughts that creates different emotion based on our past. So back to self-coaching, neutral situation, your thought download, and then you're going to model your thoughts. Not the one you want to have, the one that are currently happening in your life. You're going to use the model, thoughts, emotion, action, results. Now, we've talked about the thought. Let's look at the A's. Now, this is one of the reasons specifically for the new cohort that we are just learning the self-coaching. I am pushing you to look at your action with a wide lens, right? To say, beyond the little event, how are you behaving in general with your feelings? Because this event, the coronavirus, will bring out old behavior, right? Old pattern that you thought were gone will resurface. Why? Because those old action, these old pattern kept you safe before. So for example, many of us in this community have a behavior around food. We've used food to process emotion before. We've used food to keep us safe before. We've used food in a lot of things. So don't be surprised that you have, quote, emotional eating resurfacing, the intention of perhaps overeating or binging, because these actions kept you safe before, so they will resurface. The action are not just in the moment, they're the behavior in general that you adopt when you feel a certain way. So if you're thinking, I'm watching the news and I'm reacting in the moment of watching the news, but it's also how you react and act 2 hours later, 6 hours later, a day later. Right? So your action and the wide lens you're taking will allow you to see the full scope of your action. Thought, how you feel, the action, and then the result that it creates in your life. Right now, we're still at a stage where we're exploring the current state of our life and our living with regards to this circumstance. Then, once you've done the full exploration, you have to decide. You have the power to determine, to choose how you are going to experience the situation. That's the whole power of self-coaching, right? You have to take responsibility for the way you feel. And I'm going to pause here for that to sit with all of us. The coronavirus is neutral. The way we feel about it comes from the way we think about it. Therefore, none of us is forced to be anxious, to be stressed, to be afraid. None of us. We choose to feel that way by the thoughts we engage with. So here's the beauty of going beyond the food. Here's the beauty of self-coaching. Now that you know exactly all the repercussion of what is happening in your life as a result of your thoughts, you can decide, I like the way I've been reacting so far. I want to feel this way. I want to have these behavior. So I'm going to continue with this. That's the way I want to experience this crisis in the world. Or you're going to say, now I don't want to experience the coronavirus in this way. So I'm going to change the way that I think about it. I'm going to change my experience. You have the power to do this by changing your thoughts. This is when we then move into the intentional model. Okay? This is when we reverse engineer and say, done a full investigation. That's not the way I want to experience it anymore. I want to experience it this way. So then my recommendation is that you start with the emotion. Start with, how do I want to feel about the coronavirus? When we do the intentional model, we can either choose the action or the emotion, right? My recommendation in the reality of what we're experiencing is that you start with the emotion. Sit down with yourself and say, how do I want to feel about this? Pick the emotion you want to feel and then reverse engineer. So if I want to feel this way, how do I need to think about the neutral circumstance of the coronavirus? And then you pick your thoughts that is going to drive the emotion into your body. And then outline the action when you feel this way. What is the action that I typically take when I feel this way? And then the result that you're going to have. And then you have two choices. You either practice this thought because it does make you feel this way, or you say, I'm so far away from being able to produce this emotion in my body. Perhaps I need a thought ladder, right? Perhaps I need to start at the bottom of the ladder and move my way back up to how I want to feel. That's the tool of the thought ladder. And then you practice that thought. Now, I don't want to tell you what to do, but I want to say, based on the experience of being in a space of controlling and managing my mind for years, one of the things right now that will prevent you from creating this new experience of the coronavirus is the news and social media. So if you are doing all this work on your self-coaching and you're creating the way you want to feel about it, yet you're plugged into CNN and you're constantly receiving message of how dangerous it is and how bad it is, right? You will have a very hard time to change the way you think about this. The same thing with social media. If your feed is extremely fear-based right now, you'll have a hard time, especially if you're on social media a lot. So I would highly recommend that all of us minimize news coverage and social media, if your social media is not clean already, so that we can manage our mind more easily. Not to say that we don't want to watch the news. Perhaps it's once a day. The evening news, you watch it for half an hour, you get updated of everything that's going on in your area, the new regulation, the new things you have to do, then you shut down the TV, and then you practice the way that you want to think about this. Always choose love versus fear, right? That's one of the big statements that we make in Beyond the Food. Always choose to act out of love towards yourself first. So for those that have dependent or children around them, right, realize that you have to do your own work first so that you can pass it on to others, specifically if you have children under the age of 18 or 20 years old, where they're not in a state of managing their own mind. They don't have the capacity to manage their own mind. You have to help them manage their own mind. You, through your words, your action, they will copy you. So if you're fear-based talk and fear-based action, they will be fear. So you have to choose to love yourself, take the time to do your self-coaching, take the time to post in the community, read other people, get coaching on your own, ask for advice from other people in the community so that you can turn around and help influence your dependent around you. Not other adults, because you cannot influence other functional adults, but if you have children or grandchildren, your action and your words will impact them. So I'm going to give you 3 checkpoints, I guess. Here's 3 things that I want you to take away. Whatever was going on in your life before the coronavirus will only get amplified by the situation we are experiencing and the entire planet's reaction to this circumstance. Very few people in this world have the tools that you have here to manage their mind. Therefore, they're acting out of their primitive brain and their fear-based thoughts. So whatever was going on before will only get amplified. So if you were fear-based of health, of your weight, of food, of your relationship, this environment will just amplify it. 2, if you were dealing with life with control before, this circumstance will only motivate you to try to get more control. If control was your coping mechanism, and we have to face it, most of us in this community had a control issue and it showed up through dieting and weight and food. Right now, if you don't manage your mind, you will try to get control in life, right? You'll be the one buying 15 packages of toilet paper, okay? And that's okay, because if that's all you're willing to do and you've chosen to react that way, that's okay. But it's a choice, right? It's not something you have to do. It's a choice that you're making. Manage your mind. Stay connected to this community. My community here, my social media are neutral environment, and they're going to try to bring more positivity. At the end of the day, it is a challenging situation, but you have the tool to choose the way you are going to experience this. Some people have asked me how I experience it. I experience it from a place of neutrality and from a place of controlling my own faith. By that, I mean, I'm self-isolating myself. I've quarantined myself. I'm fortunate enough that I'm working from home, but I'm managing what I can manage, right? So I'm avoiding public events. I'm still going out, but I'm avoiding massive public events. I'm managing my own life in the way that I can. Fortunately for me, I've made the move over the fear of death years ago. So that's not a fear of mine. I realize I'm going to pass and I'm going to die at some point. It could be with this and it could be with something else. So I don't hold fear for that anymore. So when I look at this, this is just another set of circumstance in my life, and I'm going to self-manage myself. I'm not going to try to manage my environment or the people around me. I'm going to choose to manage myself. There you have it, ladies. I hope it helped you. I say this is a grassroots movement, so if you want to share this episode with other women in your life, I'm sure we can help hundreds, if not thousands of women in our inner circle, specifically that most of us are quarantined at home right now and needs uplifting material. And just a reminder also, if you need further support, we've got 2 programs to help you. The Intuitive Eating Project, which is currently open, and we have a $50 coupon for you, the listener, PEACE50, all in one word. And the Going to Beyond the Food Academy is also open on invitation. So we've put the link in the show notes. I love you, sister. And I look forward to hang out with you on the next episode.